Welcome to Crossbody of Work. My name is Evan.
I am Javier.
And we are doing another trip to New Japan. I am continuing my education, continuing to get learnt on New Japan. Who are we covering this week? I mean, it's in the title of the episode. They probably know, but say it anyways, Javier.
So just for your sake, because I don't know if you know how to pronounce his name or not, we're covering Katsuyori Shibata this week, the rough and tugged boy of New Japan.
Yeah, he is a scary man.
Yeah, I would say so.
A very quiet confidence that scares me in a way that like loud people don't.
Yeah, I mean, he's never going to be the guy that talks. It was, the promo just wasn't going to happen for Shibata. So what I did was I linked to something relatively recently in his career, but after career. So Shibata is a guy who he worked really, really stiff. When you think of the strong style, I mean, Shinsuke Nakamura is probably the guy who people think of. I mean, his name is King of Strong Style.
Kind of helps.
Shinsuke Nakamura is nothing compared to Katsuyori Shibata. I mean, Katsuyori Shibata is a guy who will, like, his whole character is basically predicated around being stiff and stiff shots. His finisher is the PK, the penalty kick, which is just a really hard kick to the chest.
One of the hardest kicks I've ever seen.
Yeah. And yeah, he's a guy who I really wanted to choose here. One, because Nakamura is a part of WWE and still actively going in his career, so it's kind of weird to choose him as the second New Japan guy. And two, because he is the third member of that Three Musketeers that I mentioned in the Hiroshi Tanahashi episode.
So we covered Tanahashi. He was our first New Japan episode, and we're covering Shibata this time because they're part of the Three Musketeers. For those who don't know what we do in the podcast, if you've never listened, we take a wrestler, we watch 5 of their matches, we talk about it, we usually get distracted. That's the way it happens. These are like special episodes almost because it's Javier explaining to me New Japan and Japanese wrestling because I have never really looked into it, and now I'm getting an education. So for those who don't know, like me before this podcast, who are the Three Musketeers?
So New Japan likes to do this thing where they usually handpick 3 guys who are going to really usher in the next era of New Japan. They've done it going back a very long time. And, you know, Shibata, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Hiroshi Tanahashi were the 3 guys who came up around the same time. I mean, Shibata and Tanahashi actually debuted the exact same month. I think it was October of 1999. And yeah, those 3 were the guys who were really looked upon. Originally, Shibata was probably still the ugly duckling of the group, as far as, you know, Nakamura was the guy who was supposed to be the biggest star. Tanahashi was the most charismatic, but not the best in-ring worker, but eventually he became the guy for New Japan.
Yep.
And Shibata was just there, kind of. That's kind of the best way I could describe him. He was the guy who didn't really have much of a character. He still worked relatively stiff in his younger days, but he's definitely not the guy that he became. And the reason why Shibata is such an interesting story is because the issue with Nakamura was he never really fully connected with fans, which is what led him to go on excursion to Mexico and become the rock star, flamboyant Shinsuke Nakamura character we all know today. Tanahashi just was Tanahashi from the jump. I mean, we covered it in his episodes. The guy was just a charismatic machine, and he was a workhorse. He still is a guy who is one of the top guys in New Japan, and he was their John Cena. Shibata was really the guy who, you know, he wasn't pushed as heavily as those 2. He didn't really make as much of an impact as those 2. And the thing that really is the defining thing for Shibata was he was the renegade. He was the guy who left when New Japan needed him most. You know, their business was really tough for them in the early mid 2000s, and in 2005 he was really not happy there. So he was just like, you know what, I'm done with this. And when his contract was up with New Japan, he didn't re-up. He just left. He became a freelance wrestler. He went to Pro Wrestling Noah. He went all over the place. He tried his hand in MMA, which obviously contributed a lot. Yeah, contributed a lot to his style and why he's able to be such a rugged and stiff character. But yeah, he really was a guy who wanted to go through the beat of his own drum, and It really showed in his career because, when he came back in 2012, he was definitely viewed as more of a bad guy. And we'll see it. We'll cover it in a couple of matches here. It really did have a lasting impact on how other guys viewed him, especially Hiroshi Tanahashi, who's one of the matches that we're going to cover here. He had no love for Katsuyori Shibata.
Yeah, there was no love lost there. But you mentioned how he ended up going to Pro Wrestling Noah. Noah is a company that I know pretty much nothing about. For the longest time, it was just, in my mind, the company that Shelton Benjamin was in. Because I knew who Shelton Benjamin was, and I love Shelton. And I just knew that he was in Pro Wrestling Noah. And I was like, oh, cool. That's where Shelty does his stuff. But we're actually going to cover a tag match from Noah as our first match, right?
Yeah, we are. The way I can describe Noah probably the best is it's not like the dynamic now between WWE and AEW. It's not like WWE and TNA. Noah was kind of like, it's just like a different style almost. It's kind of like, I guess like, let's say like 2009-ish. Well, it's like New Japan's WWE and Noah's like Ring of Honor. They're like they're the indie air quotes. They have a long history, but they really are more made for a certain fan base that really just cares about the in-ring quality as far as like, they like more stiff style. They like a more, that kind of style. And just a lot like WWE has adopted a lot of what Ring of Honor did. New Japan adopted a lot of what Pro Wrestling Noah did. And you see it now, especially, I mean, they have Kenta, they have Shibata, they really took a lot. They have Minoru Suzuki. They took a lot of guys from the Noah, faithful that were there, and they brought them over, and they really have pushed them. I mean, Zack Sabre Jr. is another guy who was a part of Suzuki Gun in Pro Wrestling Noah, who made the transition over eventually to New Japan, and it's just really a lot of stiff workers came from Noah, and that's
this really, match is full of stiff workers.
Yes, the first match that we have here is actually one that I really wanted to put in here because it showed not only a side of early Shibata, because it's from 2005 and it's the first match from the 2000s or the only match from the 2000s that we have on this list, but it also shows the relationship between him and Kenta, which is one of the defining relationships of his career, which we'll get to later on. Those two guys were two guys who have been friends. Shibata really helped Kenta along early on in his career as well. He helped him improve a lot in the ring. They really played off of each other very well. They're two guys who have a lot of the similar styles. Shibata is more MMA oriented, whereas Kenta really is just like, I'm just gonna beat the crap out of you and not really
fight
care.
You.
Yeah.
So the two of them are teaming up.
Yes, and they are taking on Takeshi Morishima and Muhammad Yone,
who are two of the biggest characters I have ever seen in wrestling.
Yeah. Evan,
Morishima literally is one of the biggest people I've ever seen. He is a big boy.
So I know a lot about Takeshi Morishima. I knew a little bit about Muhammad Yone. What are your thoughts on not only those two guys, but just this match?
When I first saw Morishima and Yone is a vibe. The man has an afro and fur on the neck and bright orange pants. It is a lot to take in at once, but he's doing what he can. Morishima my note is just that he is a mountain of a human being.
He's a big boy.
That is a big boy. And not a big boy in the way that like a lot of WWE big boys are. This is like our boy Mabel big boy. Like this is wide boy, strong boy. The match early on, one of my first notes, because you mentioned before I started watching any of the matches for this episode, you're like, you're not going to be expecting the style. I don't think you've ever really seen the style. My first note about actual in-ring action is, oh my god, the early elbows. Is this what I'm in for?
Yeah.
The match starts with just intense trading of elbows, which I have come to learn is a staple of Shibata matches. Early on, it's just balls to the wall, and it's just about landing strikes. Like it doesn't seem to be about wrestling. It seems to be about landing strikes early. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. So like this Shibata really is a guy who's just predicated on he has pro wrestling, but what he really wants to do is infuse it with MMA, which you see a lot in like his grappling, the way he works, between a half guard, a full guard, stuff like that. We see that mostly in the later stage of his career, but here he is just like, I'm going to beat the crap out of you. There's not many guys like me out there right now who are just beating the crap out of people. So you know what I'm going to do, Morishima? Guy who's 3 times my size, I'm going to beat the crap out of you. Yone, I'll let Kenta handle most of the work on you, but I'm going to beat the crap out of you too. And yeah, that's the match here was basically just Kenta and Shibata beating the crap out of those 2 guys. And those 2 guys are just like, hey, we're bigger than you, so we're just going to
Why are we letting you do this? Yeah, Kenta is an asshole in this match, and I love him.
Yeah,
I love him.
It's also important to note that Kenta and Shibata are the heels in this match. They are the bad guys.
That came across even without English commentary or anything. I was getting that vibe from them right away.
Yeah, and Kenta, who I don't know if we've mentioned, Kenta is Hideo Itami, former Hideo Itami in WWE. Yeah. For those who didn't know. And Takeshi Morishima, those 2 guys are actually pretty well known in the American circles because in Ring of Honor in the mid-2000s, they were both Ring of Honor champion. Kenta beat Bryan Danielson, I believe, or if he didn't beat Bryan Danielson, he beat Homicide. I think it was Homicide for the Ring of Honor championship. And then Takeshi Morishima beat Kenta for the Ring of Honor World Championship. And they're actually both people of note because Kenta, in a match with Daniel Bryan, ruptured Daniel Bryan's eardrum, and
Ouch.
Takeshi Morishima, in a match against Daniel Bryan, detached Daniel Bryan's retina.
See no evil, hear no evil. Who messed up his tongue? Because speak no evil.
Brie Bella? I don't know.
Oh, no. She's his loving wife. This match is wild. I wrote down that the hits are hard, but nothing hits as hard as Yone's sweet, sweet orange pants.
Oh, my God.
They are peak mid-2000s fashion. I will give them that. For some reason, in the mid-2000s, we all decided that pants needed to be as big as possible, as if we were trying to smuggle
we
snacks
thought everything
into movie
needed
theaters.
to be as big as possible. We had T-shirts down to our knees.
Yeah, it was very cool.
It's a great
I was
time
very
period.
cool. 2005, I was 13. I was very cool.
Man, I wish I could go back. It's 2005. I was like 7.
2005, if I met 13-year-old me, I would smack him for a variety of reasons. Anyways, back to the match. At one point, Kenta gets launched over the barricade by Morishima, which I thought was great. And then Yone tries to take his head off with a knee, and just the action keeps coming in these matches.
Yeah, this match, there's no rest period. If there is, it's because all 4 were taken out, and it lasts like 30 seconds before they start murdering each other again. That is the fun part about this match. It is literally like, I think probably a grand total of like 25 to 30 minutes in its entirety, but it is like 25 or 30 minutes of literally pure action. Like, it's crazy.
Where you think at multiple points, like, oh, that's probably enough to end the match. No. They don't even go for pins sometimes. They just pick the guy up and like, I have more things to hit you with, so I'm going to hit you now.
Yeah, my favorite thing was, my favorite part of the entire match was there was a part where Kenta, I believe, Shibata puts, I think it's Morishima in it. No, it's Yone. He puts Yone in a camel clutch in the middle of the ring, and then Kenta goes to hit the ropes and is like, nah, smack across the face. And then they switch spots. No, Shibata did that first. So Shibata smacked him, and then Kenta goes to hit the ropes, and then instead of stopping himself, he just hits the ropes a trillion, like back and forth. He goes back and forth like 5 times, and then stops in his tracks right in front of Yone and just smacks the ever-loving god shit out of him.
Just smacks him. There's also one point where Shibata uses Kenta as a springboard twice in a row. The first time doesn't go well at all, so he's like, I'm going to run that back and do it. And the second time, much better, like flying forearm off that, which I thought was great.
Yeah.
One note on Yone, he has an excellent top rope leg drop.
He has a great spinning heel kick, which I guess is his finisher.
He has a pretty good set of moves. Yeah. As we're describing his moveset, it almost sounds like he has the same moveset as Booker T. He does not.
Yeah, no, he doesn't have the same moveset as Booker T.
And I bet he couldn't hit a good spinneroonie either.
And for all of my my people who grew up on Toonami, right before Adult Swim on Cartoon Network, Yone looks a lot like Bo in real life.
I don't even know what that was, but okay. Sure.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Kenta at one point leaps up to get Yone for a superplex, and then just as like that's the action that normally in like Western wrestling you would be focused just on that. At the same time, Shibata hits a massive running knee to Morishima, and I'm like, I don't know where to pay attention to.
Yeah. And
there's too much happening.
Yeah, and there was a lot of stuff happening, but towards the like last 10 minutes of the match, I feel like it could have ended anywhere. And where I thought it was going to end was, I think Yone is put on, like Shibata lifts up Yone on his shoulders, and Kenta comes flying in with like a weird like clothesline that he just like contorts like a billion times in the air and then hits the clothesline. And then so it's like the what's the old Legion of Doom finisher?
Doomsday Device.
Yeah, it looks like a Doomsday Device kind of.
It does.
It looks like crazy. And then Kenta immediately, instead of pin, he just hits the ropes, PK, just murders Yone. And that should have been a finish, but instead what happens is Morishima comes in and murders Kenta. He just kills the guy.
This big boy, Morishima, just consistently remembers every once in a while that he's a giant man.
Yeah.
And decides to take it out on these two.
No, it's not the two of them.
Degenerates.
It's just Kenta. He always kills Kenta. He's just like, hey, Shibata, you're good.
You're fine.
Yeah. And then the babyface is turning around, and I think it's Shibata gets put up on Morishima's shoulders, and then they're like I mentioned the spinning back heel. Yone gets up on the top rope and then does a spinning back heel kick.
Yeah,
and just
it is a spinning heel kick Doomsday Device.
Yes, it is.
It's super cool.
Awesome. But the finish really starts coming in towards the end. There's like a weird like spinning Uranage type move that Morishima hits on Kenta, and
Based
thought
on
that was
the reaction
finish.
from the crowd, sounds like Morishima's finisher.
I don't know, but he dumped Kent. Like, it's the first Uranage I've ever seen where someone gets dumped on their head.
But the way the crowd reacted to it and the way that the commentary reacted to it, like, I don't speak Japanese, but it sure sounded like a finisher.
Yeah, it sounded like a finisher, but it wasn't, because what the finisher of the match is Morishima decapitating Kenta with a lariat.
Yeah.
And then he just hits a back suplex that looked like my neck broke while I was watching it. And that's the end of the match.
It was a wild start. You had told me that this style of wrestling is going to be very different from things I've watched before. Between just Yone's look, the size of Morishima, and the way the action played out, I was like, "This is wild." Like it was a very different experience. But then, is it shortly after this, or is it around this time that's when Shibata starts doing MMA?
I think it might have already happened by this point. I don't know exactly what the time period on his MMA run is, but yeah, I think it had already happened by this point.
Because then he is not super successful in MMA overall.
No.
Don't get me wrong. He's more successful than I'd ever be in any fight in my life.
He is relatively successful in kickboxing, but MMA, mixed martial arts in itself, no. He goes, I believe, 4-10-1 in his career. And yeah, 8 of his 10 losses came by submission or TKO. Not even knockout, just TKO.
So on the grand scale of wrestlers who do MMA, he is not at the bottom like Punk, but he's not at the top like a Shamrock or a Lesnar.
Yeah.
But I still wouldn't want to fight Shibata.
No, I wouldn't want anything to do with Shibata in a real fight.
Are there any wrestlers you think you could take in a fight?
Marco Stunt.
And that to me would like for me versus Marco, that's like a draw.
Yeah, but I'm like Marco Stunt is probably like what 5'3".
Yeah,
maybe a little taller. I'm 6 feet. I've got like 100 pounds on the guy probably. I don't know. Yeah, anytime I look at Marco Stunt, I think like, oh, that guy's like 90 pounds.
That guy's small.
I got a lot of weight on him.
Like I couldn't. Like me and Marco would go to a draw. That's my call. Let's go into match 2, which was, I think, the match you were most excited for me to see.
Yes, and there is a reason for it, because I knew. So the match is it's a G1 match from 2013. It's Shibata going up against not Minoru Suzuki. Wow, Ishii. I always forget his first name.
Tomohiro
Ishii Yeah, who is the pit bull of New Japan? That is really what he's known as. And if you look at him, looks
not
like
the musical artist Pitbull, the animal.
He's not Mr. Worldwide.
305.
He's not Mr. Worldwide. I
have an idea for a gimmick change for Ishii. I need to pitch it.
Jesus. I like how we both go to give a nickname for Pitbull, and we both say two different ones at the exact same time. Does Pitbull have too many nicknames?
Pitbull has too many names, too many nicknames.
You go Mr. 305, I went Mr. Worldwide. It's like, which one are you?
Both. All right, let's talk about this match because it was wild.
Yes. So again, this is from the G1 in 2013. It really is like the first match between these two. It's the first like serious match between these two. Like this is the first one that kicks off a series between these guys that is exactly like this match is. But I do think that this is the best one of the bunch, which is why I selected it. And yeah, it's just, it only goes for like 12 and a half minutes. But it is, so they both do the stiff style. Ishii is a thick dude. He's probably Evan's height, but he's a thick man. And I'm talking no neck. His whole body is basically just a ball of muscle and thickness. Yep. He is thick with two C's. And Shibata and him just decide, hey, 12 minutes? We're just going to beat the fuck out of each other for 12 minutes.
Holy hot start, Batman. Like, trading running strikes and then elbows immediately.
Just elbows immediately. The same thing, the same way that Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens just trade those punches in the middle of the ring where they hold on to each other. These guys were like, hey, forearms.
And then it turns into them offering to take kicks and chops from each other.
Yeah, willingly.
Just sitting there being like, you could do it. I can take it. And I had to stop, rewind, and send a clip of it to my friends. I was like, what am I watching? This is wild. They're just accepting punishment. They're like, yeah, no, kick me. This is good. I loved it. For 12 minutes, it's just all go the whole time.
Yeah.
One note I have, Shibata could give Cena some lessons on locking in an STF.
Oh my God, it looks so nice.
It's so clean.
Yeah,
and he has a clean line underneath the neck. It's the way it should be.
Yeah, he's got the leg trap just right. But man, the thing that was really, really cool was the entire match. I just kept thinking, imagine paying to go see some pro wrestling and you get a freaking MMA main event. Like,
yeah,
this looks like this is Robbie Lawler versus why am I blanking? Roy McDonald at UFC 189, aka in my opinion, the greatest MMA fight of all time. This is that. This is just, we're gonna go here now and we're gonna mess each other up real bad, and we're not gonna bleed. I don't think either of them bled, but they just stiffed the hell out of each other.
It's surprising that nobody did.
Yeah, and it's funny too because the theme of almost any Shibata match from here on out is like, I am going to now stiff you really, really hard. And you're going to do it back, but I could take it because at some point during these exchanges, you are going to fall to your knees and I'm going to look down at you and just show you what being a man is like. I
do love that every time that Shibata's in one of these striking matches, it seems, the second that his opponent shows any weakness, he pounces on them.
Yeah.
He's like, I am in control now. I love that. I also really liked Ishii had a great German suplex / clothesline combo. You might be wondering, how does that work? He just hits a German and then he destroys him with a lariat. Like, everything in these matches are lariats. There are no clotheslines here. All of these are lariats. Including, there's a big clothesline by Shibata and Ishii kicks out at one. I was like, oh shit, okay. Didn't realize it was getting that intense, but it was that intense.
Yeah,
and
it was.
There's a headbutt off. There's a double headbutt, and then Shibata everybody headbutts. And then I think this is the match where they fall on each other after the headbutts.
Yeah, this is the match where they fall on each other after headbutts.
I love that. They're just so intense. I thought this match was a lot in 12 minutes, but
yeah,
I was starting to really learn the Shibata style, and then it kind of informed my view for the last couple matches because I was like, oh, he's at that point of the match now, like he's at that part right now.
Yeah,
which I thought was really good.
So for someone who is very WWE centric in your viewing of pro wrestling, what did this match do for you?
Oh, I think there's just a level of realism that seemed to be there in this fight, because it was a fight. It wasn't a match. It was a fight. Like, it was, these two men are going to try to kick the shit out of one another until one of them is no longer able to answer a count, or one of them can be pinned for 3. Like, there was no theatrics. If a pinfall was a 1 count, you just got back on and beat the shit out of the other guy.
Yeah.
Like, it was not the WWE face of, oh my god, he kicked a how? Which they do after every kick out.
Yeah.
Like, especially on moves that no one has ever won with. It's like, oh, he kicked out of a sidewalk slam. It's like, yeah, of course he did. No one's ever won with a sidewalk slam. Relax. I just love the intensity. I also just really like Shibata's style. I love the fact that he's like, I'm going to take a lot of punishment in this match.
And I'm going to give a lot of punishment in this match.
I'm going to be able to take it. You might not. Which is funny, because the way that I'm describing it, you think that Shibata won the match. But no. Want to go into the finish?
Yeah, so the finish of the match, you mentioned where they collapsed on each other with headbutts earlier, but almost right after that, Ishii hits a clothesline for a 1 count, and then Ishii hits a second clothesline. Shibata kicks out a 2. And Ishii, instead of just saying, I'll do a third one, maybe I'll get a 3 count. No, he just hits a brain buster, which is his finishing move, and he gets the win.
Great hard-fought match.
Jeez.
I love G1 matches. I love the style of the G1 Climax. I'm really going to try to watch it when it comes back, because I love tournaments in general in wrestling. I would love to see more tournaments in Western wrestling. I think they're always exciting. And
yeah, the
G1
it's just the best. In my opinion, it's the best wrestling all year. Like, for New Japan, there are 2 certainties. January 4, the Wrestle Kingdom shows are probably going to be the pay-per-views of the year for any company, period, just because they always deliver. And the G1, you can turn on any of the matches outside of a Tai Chi match, because I just don't like Tai Chi. It's a theme that Evan has probably already picked up on, but the people here will soon figure that out. And like, aside from a Tai Chi match, you're gonna get a damn good match, because these guys genuinely go all out for these tournaments. It's a round robin style tournament, and then the final is usually a fantastic match. It always delivers. Most of the time, New Japan decides on the right person to win the entire tournament, and then we get an epic main event. January 4, and yeah, these G1 matches always deliver, and these guys, these two, Ishii and Shibata, went out there the following year and had a match that was just like this. They went out the year after that and had a match that was just like this. But yeah, this is the first one of the bunch, and I genuinely thought it was the best one, because it's just so surprising, you know? It's the kind of match that when you're used to one style and you get something like this where they don't do theatrics. This match is not about theatrics at all. It's just two tough guys going out there and beating the shit out of each other.
I really think that the WWE specifically could benefit from a G1 style tournament because of how much time they have to fill in a week.
Yeah.
Like, if you had it involve guys from Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, and you had some cross-brand, whatever, it would give you matches that are set to happen every... Like, obviously, you're not going to have a full show of just G1 matches. But, you know, if on Raw you had 2 matches, on SmackDown you had a match... Like, they're always looking for filler matches, right?
Yeah.
And these are filler matches with purpose, right? Even if it's near the end of the tournament and guys are mathematically eliminated, they're still fighting for position and pride and all these other reasons, right?
Yeah.
You can build storylines out of the G1. It happens every year.
And the thing that I like about it is, like, the champions go in. So, like, the IWGP heavyweight champion goes in, the IC champion goes in. If you could have that in WWE, and the thing that happens always is... So obviously the champion, the defending champion has never won the G1. So like, if you have Drew McIntyre in there, Drew McIntyre will lose a match or 2. And what you can do is after the G1, you can just build a feud around that. Like, let's say Drew McIntyre
I've beaten the champion, therefore I deserve a title match.
Yeah, let's say he loses to Andrade. Like, there is a pay-per-view match that is built after the G1 between Drew McIntyre and Andrade. Or let's say he loses twice. Like, you have the Andrade match, and then a following pay-per-view, you can build to another one of those losses that he had. Same thing with the IC title, same thing with the US title, anything like that. And the thing with them is they could have 2 different G1s. You could have one on SmackDown and one on Raw. You know, you could
also have a women's one and a men's one in WWE.
Yeah, same thing. You know, it's one of those things.
That would be very cool.
Yeah, I mean, we get to see a lot. Io Shirai face a lot of different people. You know, maybe an Asuka or something like that. And again, it breeds excitement. It breeds new matchups, and it brings compelling stories leading after it. It's also something new, and with WWE always trying to reinvent the wheel and try to make things fresh, you know, it really is like they tried it with the Cruiserweight tournament. I
love the Cruiserweight Classic.
I thought it was better, more than it was bad. I didn't think it fully hit, just because I don't think people were as invested in it. But if you give a main roster one, where you again, you just throw all of the top guys in there as well, and you know, you just watch as it grows, and you give them time. That's another thing that they need. You make these like 15-20 minute matches that the guys actually go out there and get to show their stuff. You know, you really might have a couple of stars made from a G1 tournament in the WWE.
I love the G1 now. I've been sold on it. So we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're watching 2 more G1 matches for Shibata against 2 of the other 3 Musketeers. Back from the break, we're looking at another G1 match. This one is in 2014, so it's the year after. And it is a guy that I'm familiar with.
Yes.
Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yes.
I really like Nakamura. I have been a fan of his style, which is why I think that it's easier for me to get into the New Japan style. It's not a complete shock. Because, yes, his WWE style is different from the way that he wrestled in Japan, but there are at least some commonalities. Like, when I heard about Strong Style, it was obviously from Nakamura, and also when AJ Styles came over, and I was like, what is this style? I kind of got some refreshers online and saw what was going on. This match is different. I like this match.
Yeah, this match told a story. I mean, these 2 guys were, again, part of the 3 Musketeers, and it had been 10 years at that point since these 2 guys had a match. And it's funny because the exact clip that I put in here, it had a Shibata promo before the match, and he was just very stoic. He was like not fazed by the moment at all. He didn't care that he was facing Shibata. He didn't care about anything like that, and he just really wanted to he just really wanted to go out there and get a win because it's the G1. You know, he wants to win.
That's what his job is. He's out there to win.
He's gonna go out there and he's gonna do his job. And it's really cool to see something like that. You know, he is just the Shibata character is I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna be me, and I'm not gonna have a personality, and it's something that's really cool. You know, there's not many people like that in wrestling. You know, he really is a lot like a guy that we had on our last podcast, Dean Malenko. He is like the New Japan Dean Malenko, and that he's not a technical. It's not the same style in ring. I meant more character-wise. He is the Iceman. He is stoic. He's just going to go out there, and he's not going to wow you with his charisma. He's going to wow you with his style.
See, I wrote down that it's 2 different styles of charisma in this match specifically. Shibata is understated. He is calm.
Yeah.
He is quiet. He is about his business, right? And he's just going to prove it in the ring. That's his whole thing. Is get in the ring, be better, beat the crap out of people. Nakamura is flair. He is drama. He is excess. He is swagger. He is all these things. And I could understand it kind of being like a way to, you know, amplify the abilities. Like, this is I'm so great, so I'm just going to celebrate it like I'm awesome. Whereas Shibata comes across not as not having that, but as not needing that. Like, he doesn't need to have all these bells and whistles. He's just able to just go out there. I'm going to kick you in the chest. Like, that's the whole gimmick.
Yeah, and
I really liked it.
It's cool because, you know, these guys both went away from New Japan for a while and came back as 2 different people. Like, literally complete opposites. I mean, they both came back with a little bit of a stiffer style, but, you know, again, you mentioned Shinsuke is the rock star. He is the greater than life, personality, and Shibata's just like he is just not a personality at all. He's just an Iceman. He really doesn't have that much emotion to him. But yeah.
Speaking of personalities, Mauro Ronaldo's on the call.
Yes,
love that.
Mauro Ronaldo and Josh Barnett, which is fun.
This is Mauro throwing as many pop culture references as he can into one space.
Yeah, which
is his only flaw, in my opinion. It is his only flaw is that he goes for them too often.
Yeah, my thing with Mauro Ronaldo is I feel like he makes matches more exciting than they are, which is interesting to me. You know, it's one of those things where he really makes it feel like a big fight. Every single match, he makes it feel like it's big time. And it really worked for me here because obviously if I'm watching an entire show and like one of the matches is like Mabel against Mark Henry, I'm not going to think that's like a match of the year contender, but he's making it seem like it is. But if I'm just getting one match and it's Shinsuke Nakamura against Katsuyori Shibata and Mauro Ronaldo's on the call, like that's appointment television for me.
Yeah, that is exciting things.
Yeah, and it's cool because both of these guys went and tried their hand at MMA. Shinsuke tried his hand at MMA very early on in his career. And it didn't mixed results, but they really put an influence on that in the early stages of the match. They were grappling really early.
There was a lot of grappling.
Yeah, they really, were exchanging holds. They were exchanging who was on the guard. Shibata took the back a couple of times from Nakamura. Nakamura always found a way to counter out of it. But it really led up, and it was a lot of back and forth up until, thanks, Mauro, for this. Shibata hit a Sakatoshi to the outside, which is he kind of just like, it was like a weird cravat, but like backwards, and he just pulled Nakamura over the rope and outside.
Right. Yeah.
And then from
Didn't
there,
understand exactly what that was, but I'm glad you caught the call.
Yeah, and then from there, Shibata's just like, hey, we're going to throw you into the ring post, we're going to drop you on your back, and then I'm going to throw you in the ring, and we're going to put in one of the prettiest looking figure fours you will ever see.
Very deep. It's weird because you don't think of a figure four of something that can really be put in deeply because you don't have to like sit on it.
Yeah, because it's
Ric
Flair.
It's just cinched in. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's really good.
He makes it look. The thing with Shibata is he makes the figure four look legit, and I know it's a nitpicky deal. Like it's a submission hold in wrestling. Like we know it's not really as painful, but there's just something about Shibata's aura that like my man could just be shaking my hand and I feel like I'm dead.
Fun fact, I did an article that came out recently, and it was 5 Bash at the Beach matches you should watch.
I read that.
And one of them is Chavo versus Eddie in a hair versus hair match. And right before, Chavo Guerrero has a match against Stevie Ray where he shakes Stevie Ray's hand and then submits to the handshake.
I like that.
It was so goofy and weird. The only reason I included that match, like it's not a good match overall, especially for those two guys. It's just so weird. It's some of the weirdest shit I've ever seen.
I like it a lot.
I want to talk about one move in particular right now because I don't understand it and I want you to explain it to me.
What's up here?
What is good vibrations and how does it hurt anybody?
I mean, I don't know what it is and I don't know if it hurts anyone. I think it's more of a taunting thing. Nakamura still does it in WWE. It's when he has his opponent in the corner, he puts his puts his foot on their chest and then like shakes himself.
I've seen it. And I've seen it for all these years that he's been in WWE, and I've never understood it.
It's a taunt. I don't think it's like an actual offensive move.
But people sell it as if somehow they have like pain in their chest all of a sudden. And I'm like, how? What? Oh, every once in a while you'll get somebody who like sells it by like rolling off. They're like, oh, and I'm like,
I think most people just are like pissed by it. It's like,
Shibata was pissed by it, which is fair because I feel like Shibata is pissed by most things.
Yeah.
Most existences. But yeah, sometimes in WWE you see people sell it. I don't understand it. It looks cool, I guess. It's very Nakamura. That's the best way to describe it.
Yeah, and then eventually Nakamura is able to, after that he does the thing that he always does, pretty much after hitting good vibration, which he puts his opponent across the top rope and then he hits like a knee lift right into their chest.
Yeah, running knee lift.
Yeah, and but unfortunately Shibata hits a really, really stiff kick to the chest. And then just murders Nakamura with forearms in the corner, which is a staple.
All forearms all day. Yeah, it's a staple.
New Japan has the massive pad. Instead of turnbuckles, they just have a big pad that covers them. And Nakamura is just laying up against it. His head is pressed up against the pad, and he is just getting decked with forearms. Just completely decked with them. And then Shibata does. He hits the delayed dropkick to the corner, which is a staple from Kenta. They both just kind of do it.
It's a great move.
It really is.
I feel like every episode I find a move by one person that I like. This is my Shibata one. Is that delayed dropkick? It looks so clean. He's a very good dropkick.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's another move that Ibushi also uses as well nowadays. But yeah, Shibata hits it better than almost anyone. I think Kenta is the only person that hits that move better than he does. And I think the reason why I look so good on Kenta is because he is just like a smaller, kind of stockier guy. So it just ends up looking really nice when he do it.
The delay is longer.
Yeah. But Shibata whenever Shibata does it, it's just like, all right, now I'm dead. You know, I feel like that's any move that Shibata does. It's just, okay, now I'm dead.
Okay.
They trade German suplexes, and then Nakamura just hits a backstabber, and instead of going for a pin, he just puts him in a headlock, like a rear naked choke kind of deal. But yeah, it also I have some bones to pick here with Morrow, because Nakamura is a guy who likes his knee strikes, but his finisher is obviously, it's the Kinshasa in WWE. In New Japan, it was called the Bomaye knee, which is an ode to Muhammad Ali. And he said that Nakamura hit 2 Bomayes, one off the top rope, and then the sliding one. Those aren't Bomaye knees, Morrow. He just hit a knee strike. He just hit a sliding knee strike, and then he hit a flying knee strike, and now he's setting up for his finisher, which is the really hard knee strike. I don't want this. This is blasphemous.
Your nitpicky abilities for commentary impress me every episode.
Yes. But then Shibata eventually regains his composure. Obviously, the Bomaye knee wasn't hit, or else that would be the finish of the match.
That would have been it, yeah.
Yeah, but Shibata hits like the most lethal move. Like, this is the most, in my opinion, it's like the most lethal move in pro wrestling, because it's like a very lethal move, which is a spinning back fist. You hit someone with a spinning back fist legit, they're done. And he hits him with one, he hits a GTS, and you would think that's the finish, or that's all he's going to do. Nope. Penalty kick, and Nakamura is down for the count, and Shibata picks up the win.
And I know that Morrow celebrates every win as if it was a big surprise. In this G1, was it a big shock to see Shibata beat Nakamura?
Yeah, because the thing with Shibata was always a guy who was more... He wasn't even in the IC title range. He's always like a never open weight guy.
Three-time never openweight champion.
Which is it's the tough boy belt is kind of the best way I could put that. It's a belt that really is defined by Hiroki Goto, Ishii, Shibata, guys like that who are more stiff workers. He wasn't really a main event guy. Nakamura was a main event guy who, because of Tanahashi, really had to define his role in the Intercontinental title. But at any point, I mean, you could throw him in a world heavyweight title match and he wouldn't be out of place at all. Shibata wasn't at that level. So it's for him to pick up a win over Shinsuke Nakamura, who, outside of Tanahashi and Okada at this point, is the biggest star in New Japan. It's big, especially in a clean fashion, the way he got it.
And especially because Nakamura in this G1 would actually end up going to the finals of the G1.
Yeah.
And he lost to Okada.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
And then we got a really good Wrestle Kingdom main event.
And now we're going to look at another match from the same G1.
Yes.
Because that same block had Shibata versus the other musketeer, Tanahashi. Now, when I looked at as a group, seeing Nakamura where he is now and watching Tanahashi and now seeing Shibata, what I got from this is it reminds me of like 3 childhood friends, 2 grow up to be popular, and 1 is the weird kid. And that's Shibata. The other 2 are like popular, hanging out with girls, doing whatever, and then Shibata's just like, I'm in the anime club. I do jujitsu after school. I could kill you. It's just he's the weird kid.
He's the kid with the weird overcoat that wears the same clothes every day.
And it's not that he doesn't have clothes, it's just that he likes these ones.
Yeah.
And he's a weird kid, but he's also a tremendous wrestler.
This was another fantastic.
I think the Ishii match is my favorite match of the 5 because it was a lot. It was just a lot all at once.
It definitely helps for people who have ADHD like we do.
100%. But this match, to me, told a really good story.
Yeah, I thought this was the match that told the best story. I think that the last match is the best of the bunch. That's
my second. Yeah.
Then again, I am very privy to just selecting the match that has the. All right, the final match is a match against Okada. It's Shibata's last match, but I'm privy to choosing matches that have Okada in it because Okada. Again, I am an Okada stan. I think he is the best professional wrestler in the world, and I think I am justified in that opinion because the man is freaking amazing.
The man's good. Man's good.
Yeah, back to Tanahashi here. So this is a match where, like I explained earlier, these two guys have no love for each other, especially on Tanahashi's end. He is not a fan of Shibata because, again, Shibata betrayed New Japan. And, Tanahashi is Mr. New Japan, so it really felt like a betrayal to him as well, when Shibata left. But yeah, that's really what was the build-up to this match was, hey, you left. What the heck, man?
Where'd you go? Yeah.
You really left this all on my shoulders. And yeah, I was able to, carry the company and bring it to this era. But, you caused me a lot of distress in my life.
Yeah, no help from you.
So now I'm going to beat the fuck out of you. And it is a slow feeling out process early in the match. But eventually, Shibata just hits one of the stiffest smacks you'll ever hear to Tanahashi. And again, Tanahashi is not a guy who does the stiff style. This is not his style at all. So for him to really try to match up with that, it's just like, okay, here we go.
And he really is trying to step toe-to-toe with Shibata in this style. He really is willing to play his game. And one thing I noticed is that anytime Tanahashi was really getting any momentum and offense in, Shibata would cut him right down with forearms. Immediately. He was like, I am not letting this happen. Couple forearms, always able to cut down the comebacks, which for Tanahashi seemed to be very frustrating.
Yeah. And a thing that I like about Shibata's character is not that it's not no selling. It's more that his character is predicated on him being tough. He's able to take a lot of pain. You see it in he always wins the exchanges when it comes to stiff shots because his character is the guy who can take it all and dish it out. He's not going to be the guy who loses those exchanges. So when, Tanahashi's here doing dragon screws and really trying to work the knee, he's still going to be able to use that leg because he's just going to fight through his pain.
He's going to fight through the pain.
Yeah, you target his right leg. His right leg's what he used to kick people. That's his dominant leg. He's what? He's just going to switch sides and make it less effective? No, I'm just going to fight through the pain.
You are not going to take kicking away from me. I love kicking.
I'm just going to beat the crap out of you and then kick the shit out of you.
There is one point where Shibata goes for a penalty kick and it's caught into a dragon screw, which I love when wrestlers are able to really combine movesets for good reversals. And, having done the Tanahashi episode, I know how much that man loves the dragon screw. That's part of his bag, man. He loves it. So when he caught that, I was like, dragon screw's coming. And he immediately did it. I was like, yes! I knew some things happening. I love that.
Yeah. And there was a big boot. Tanahashi's in the corner and then, Shibata comes running in and just hits him with a boot straight to the face. And Tanahashi gets dumped to the outside. And then he just starts, Shibata just starts beating him up on the outside. And that's when you first really see him start kind of selling the limping a little bit. But again, it's one of those things where he's not gonna be slowed down by that. And on commentary, it's interesting to note Josh Barnett and Mauro Ranallo are also on commentary. And Barnett has a fight coming up against Big Country Roy Nelson.
Big Country Roy Nelson.
And yeah, it's fun because I went and looked up the match, and Josh Barnett won by unanimous decision.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah, good for him.
I actually I don't really know a lot of Barnett on commentary. I liked him. I thought he was very insightful.
I think he is insightful for certain matches. You put him in a match against, if it's Okada against Tanahashi, it's kind of weird because those guys aren't really known for their technical styles as much.
Yeah.
But if you put him in there against, a Shibata Nakamura match, it's perfect because a lot of their stuff is predicated on MMA style. And he's able to explain a lot of holds. A lot of the grappling stuff and the little things there. But, he does have his duds. You put him in there for Ishii Shibata match. Maybe he's not as, well versed in what he's going to be saying there. But yeah, if it's a grappling heavy match, I think he's excellent. And yeah, he was great in the Nakamura match, and he really held his own in this one. I think Mauro had a pretty good call in this match. He was
Mauro
really
was on his game.
Yeah, he was explaining the story between those two just as much as he was calling it. It wasn't a lot of Mauro over the top screaming, "Oh my God, Bushika Yoshi" and stuff like that. He was really trying to get people to understand that there's a lot of emotion in this one, and that these two guys really do not like each other. So they're going out there.
That is something that Mauro does exceptionally well, is the balance between telling the story for the audience and letting them see it for themselves.
Yeah.
He can really like guide you with his commentary. He's not shoving things at you, being like, remember this and this and this. He's very much just like setting a table, and then you can see it play out in front of you. That's something I think he's excellent at when he's not screaming "Mamma Mia."
Mamma Mia.
I mean, I do love the catch. You got to have a catchphrase.
That's amore. But anyways, yeah.
Can we talk about the massive spinning back fist by Shibata?
Go ahead.
I thought he took Tanahashi's face off.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Like, it's not that it comes out of nowhere, because they're trading blows, which is great, and what I've learned is a staple of Shibata matches. I just didn't think that it would connect as much as it did, because it's spoilers for everyone who watches wrestling. It's predetermined, and they're not really trying to hurt one another.
Yeah.
But in this case, Shibata's whole fist hits Tanahashi's whole face at a tremendous speed.
Yeah.
And I don't think you'd want that hitting the face of the ace of New Japan.
Yeah.
But here we are, and the sound is tremendous.
Yeah.
It's so loud.
It's freaking crazy. But yeah, I think another thing that was really fun about this match was the story that they told where Tanahashi was really being careless. You know, he wasn't in his normal element at all. He really was just trying, like, he was overcome with emotion of hatred, and he was blinded by that, and he wasn't able to be his normal self in this match. And ultimately, it really is what leads to his downfall. I mean, you know, he hits his sling blade, the sling blade, which is, you know, his setup move for his finisher, the high fly flow. Shibata's on his back, and he hits the high fly flow, but he doesn't cover him, you know? And so he goes up to get a second one in, and when he does that, Shibata flips over, so he's laying on his back, and he gets the knees up, so he's able to stop him, and then he just murders him with stiff shots, and then
that's where the back fist comes in.
Yeah, he's able to get the GTS in, and then he hits the penalty kick to follow, and Shibata is able to win the match.
But first, there's a reverse GTS into a small package that I thought was the finish. I genuinely, because I'm so conditioned to WWE finishes of like reversal, small package, and it's over. And no, that wasn't the case. I was very surprised to see the kick out, but also very surprised to see Shibata win, because now in this one G1, he's beaten both other musketeers.
Yeah.
He's the top guy, musketeer,
it's a great story to tell. And yeah, I think it was the best course of action that they could have done there, was giving him wins over those two guys. Just because, again, he is like the ugly duckling of the group. And I think that in order to add value onto a guy like that, you've got to give him some impressive wins. And it really did, you know, lead to some good matches after this fact. You know, it led to him getting some title opportunities. It led to him getting an elevated push. You know, he wasn't pushed into the main event, but he got some focus from New Japan.
He got some more shine.
Yeah, and he's a guy who definitely deserves it, because he's a hard worker. And we see that in the final match that we have here. But
yes, we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back from the break, we're going to cover the last match against Kazuchika Okada.
Yes.
Back from the break, and it is the final match that we're covering for Shibata, and it's actually Shibata's final match as an in-ring competitor, right?
Yes, it is. We will get into
why.
the reason for it, but for everyone to know, Shibata was, unfortunately, his career was cut short due to injury. This is the match that it happened. The why is because he suffered a brain hemorrhage after this match. And right as he went through the curtains after this, he just collapsed. And he was rushed to the hospital, and we haven't been able to see him ever since. I mean, his career is effectively over. New Japan will never clear him again. I don't think any company with any sort of compassion will clear him again. I mean, the guy's style is just predicated on him being able to...
Too hard-hitting. We talked about headbutts.
Yeah, too hard-hitting headbutts, all this stuff, and... You just can't do it anymore.
Subdural hematoma.
Yeah, that's what it is. Subdural hematoma. And his body just can't take it. Couldn't take it anymore. And unfortunately, that happened. But the one bright side in all of it is he was able to go out with a match that I think is the best match of his career. It is excellent.
Now that he has retired from wrestling, his brain will hopefully be safe from further injury.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is great. But, if there's ever a match to go out on, this was excellent.
Yeah, it's 38 minutes. It's a long boy. It's an Okada match. But
Buckle up.
Man, is a 38 minutes of just pure great wrestling. It really is.
So I did some research, and I want you to correct me if I'm wrong in terms of the setup for this match. Back in 2014, Shibata had challenged Okada for the IWGP Championship, and Okada said, "You have to win the New Japan Cup to challenge me," and he didn't win it that year. And then 3 years later, Okada is IWGP champion, heavyweight champion again. I don't think it's the same.
Yeah, this was just after his match against Kenny Omega, the 6-star match.
Right, and then Shibata happened to win the New Japan Cup, beating Fale in the finals. So now it kind of lined up where it's like, hey, remember last time or like 3 years ago when you said I needed to win that cup to get a shot? Surprise, here I am. Give me my title shot. And that's kind of how it led into this match, right?
Yes, that is what happened there. And the winner of the New Japan Cup gets a title opportunity, which is actually what, now in 2020 is
what Evil did.
What Evil did, and now I have a double champ who I don't want.
Javier loved it.
Anyways, this match...
The difference in Shibata and Okada, just in entrance and gear.
Yeah.
Shibata is in plain black pants. It's actually pointed out on commentary by Don Callis. He's in plain black trunks. He isn't coming up with anything fancy. He's got like a towel. He's got a shirt that says The Wrestler on it. Like, he's just here to wrestle. That's his whole thing. And then we know Okada. Okada has literally money coming down from the ceiling.
Yeah, he's the Rainmaker.
He's the Rainmaker. He is in he's in elaborate gear. And it's a lot. It's just such a difference in styles that, we've come to note that as a staple from Shibata. Like, he's just the anti-Flair guy. Not Ric Flair, but yeah.
But yeah, he's the flashy guy. It's very much like that Nakamura match. It's flash against it's style against substance, and it's really cool. It's a contrast. But yeah, unlike the Nakamura match, this was interesting because Okada, this is a part of Okada's legendary title reign. I think it's the best title reign in the history of professional wrestling. I genuinely believe that. It went the better part of 2 years, and every pay-per-view main event match outside of the Bad Luck Fale match was excellent. I'm talking excellent. Like, the guy went out there and he delivered every single time. It's just crazy. Evan, I really hope that you go back someday and just watch a lot of those matches. They really are just excellent. And yeah, he really like. Thing that Okada did throughout that run was he tried to challenge himself with his opponents. Like a couple of months, about a month or two before Sakura Genesis, this pay-per-view, he went up against Minoru Suzuki to really test himself. He wanted to go against that stiff style. The thing with Kenny Omega was he wanted to test himself against a guy who was that athletic. The thing with Bad Luck Fale, he wanted to test himself against a monster. He really wanted to add different dimensions to his game, and to go up against a Shibata, who is a guy who works really, really stiff, is something that he hadn't done yet. And while he did face Minoru Suzuki, Minoru Suzuki was a better MMA fighter than Shibata. So Minoru Suzuki is a guy who will kill you. But yeah, like legit kill you. He really wanted to challenge himself even more, and Shibata really is, his whole thing is just being stiff. But Suzuki is really... He's about, trying to kill you, but the guy isn't, like, all based around stiffness. So it is kind of like a different challenge for Okada. So Okada wanted to challenge himself, which really tells the story early in the match, because Okada just can't match Shibata in grappling. Shibata has him in full guard. He has him in half guard. He is doing spins on him. And at one point...
And then he gives Okada guard.
Yeah. At one point, he is just on top of him, and he's just like, this guy can't. He can't do anything, and he just like smacks his chest, like lightly taps his chest and his face, and he's just like, "Get up, let's go."
I love that Shibata literally drops on his back and invites Okada in because he's so confident in his wrestling skills.
Yeah,
he's like, I am just miles ahead of where Okada is, right on the mat. Like, I will take him to school all day, every day. So and Okada's like thinking about it.
Yeah, he's like, oh,
he takes Okada. He's like, I don't know if I want this. But I really don't like that this guy's showing me up.
Yeah, and you know what the crazy part is? Like, Okada is the guy in New Japan. He is a main. He's a money star. He's all of this stuff here. He's a part of the craziest title run in the history of pro wrestling. I think he's only 28 at the time of this.
Oh, that hurts my soul.
Yeah, he's like
Deeply.
28, 29 during this run here. But yeah, I mean, Okada is the guy. Like, he is. If you had to think of your what you want in a pro wrestler, he is 6'4". He is handsome. He can talk. He's obviously a great wrestler. He is everything you want in a top star, which is why he's the top star of New Japan. And Shibata is like literally the opposite of that. He's a shorter guy. He's skinny. And he works really stiff. He doesn't give you the high buy rate style of pro wrestling. He is, I'm going to beat you up now guy.
Shibata has the most intimidating. It is the most intimidating person I've ever seen with a bowl cut in my life.
Yeah, he is. He really, really is.
Cuts his own hair.
It's cool because, Okada is just like, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to start stiffing you. Oh, no, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yes, Okada learns his lesson very quickly.
Yeah.
I noticed that Okada plays a little dirty early on.
Yeah, so whenever there's like a rope break or something along those lines, and when the count's going, Okada doesn't let go immediately. The 5 count will happen, and he's a little late to it, and the crowd starts turning on him a little bit because of it.
The crowd is very much behind Shibata at points of this.
Yeah, which is cool because, I mean, by this point, Shibata has built up a lot of goodwill with the crowd, and he really is he's like the underdog still in this match. Like, yeah, he's the tough boy, but like, he's going up against Okada. Okada's been champion for like over a year at this point, and he is he's the guy in New Japan. So they really want to, maximize on that and like start pushing that narrative even more. And it's interesting because Shibata is the babyface, which is something you don't expect in a match against Okada. He is the babyface. He doesn't work as a heel at all. He just continues to be Shibata. And yeah, it is like an interesting to see that kind of role reversal with Okada, where he is the top guy, he is the biggest babyface in the company, but he's not in this match.
And Shibata just really gets to just do his style. Like, he doesn't really change at all. Yeah, changing from the heel to the base, he just continues to be Shibata. It's Okada changing around him.
Yeah, which is really cool because you would think the story of a match is based on the champion, but no, it's the challenger. The challenger is the guy who's the center of everything. And here's where we get the first. Okada is Japanese Randy Orton. He hits a picture-perfect drop kick.
It's very good.
Picture perfect. Okada and Randy Orton have the 2 best drop kicks I've ever seen. And another one where on the outside, he hits a draping DDT on the barricade. Like, he has Shibata up on the barricade and then just hits a draping DDT to the outside. Another callback to why Okada is Japanese Randy Orton.
Fair enough. I'd love to see Randy Orton come out with ropes like that and making it rain money.
Except it's real money, unlike Japan.
That would be quite a sight. There are so many stiff hits and stiff shots in this that are difficult to watch, knowing what the outcome is for Shibata.
Yeah.
It makes it a little bit difficult to watch, but also there is a point where I tried to keep track of everything that was happening, and there was so much. All I know is Shibata rolls through a dropkick and then hits a German. Okada's up immediately. There's a kick, and then I just wrote in all caps, there's so much happening. What? There are some wild sequences in this match.
Yeah. My favorite thing about this match actually was I think it's in that same segment where with the German suplex. Okada hits a Rainmaker, and Shibata just completely no-sells it. He's just like still like Okada's holding on to him still, and Shibata's just like, I am not going down from this. Which is interesting because that's a sell of the Rainmaker that I hadn't seen up to that point. And the only time I saw this match outside from this was when it happened live. I didn't watch it like live. I watched it like later on in the day.
You didn't watch it at 5 in the morning?
Yeah, I didn't watch this at 7 in the morning, my time. But yeah, it's the last time I saw this. I was a freshman in college when this match happened. Wow.
Glory days. The glory days.
Jesus. Anyways, yeah, it's really cool to see that. But yeah, we get that exchange with the Germans, the no-sell of a Rainmaker, and that's when the part happens.
before the Shibata tries to kick himself out of the Rainmaker. And what I mean by that is he literally just tries to keep kicking Okada, and Okada refuses to let go of his wrist, refuses to give up wrist control. But yeah, then we get the headbutt because Shibata hits a headbutt with Okada that cracks his skull and leads to the subdural hematoma, and he's bleeding immediately.
Yeah, the blood it's a really cool visual with the blood though. Like it's just trickling slowly down his face.
If the injury never happened, you would be like, wow, this is like a Stone Cold WrestleMania 13 level type of visual. Obviously not the same
really cool
same
thing.
volume of blood, but it's really, really good.
But man, it's what ends such a great career. And then right after that, he puts Okada in the Black Widow, the old AJ Lee move. And it's a long time. He has Okada in that move for like 4 or 5 minutes. Like at one point they're standing up, like Okada's on his feet, and then he just like drops down and he's on the ground, and they're on the ground for a very long time.
It's a while.
And right after that, I think he puts him in like a rear naked choke or something like that. And like they show on camera Okada's face, like they zoom in on his face a little bit. His eyes, he's just gone. Like he is not.
He's
there.
not there. Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's pretty scary. Let's talk finish. You go into it.
Yeah, but I mean, before I get into that finish, Shibata puts on like he gets wrist control and he puts on a Rainmaker, but instead of the Rainmaker, which is the short arm clothesline, he's just like slap. Which I thought was really cool.
I thought that he didn't hit it at first, and I went back and watched it. I was like, oh no, he smacked him.
Yeah, he just smacked him, and then he just kicked the ever-loving crap out of him. But Okada, Shibata wouldn't let go of the wrist, and then Okada somehow like managed to gain control of the wrist control, and then he hits a Rainmaker, but obviously he isn't able to get a pin in because he's dead. But he still maintains wrist control, and he gets it back up again. Okada hits some stiff kicks, and then he hits a Rainmaker. Shibata tries to no-sell it like he did earlier in the match, but he just ends up crumbling and falling forward towards Okada. And then Okada hits a third one. And while he hit, in the process of hitting the third Rainmaker, Shibata like made a motion like he was going to try to go in for like a punch or something, but he just wasn't quick enough. And he gets hit with the Rainmaker, third one, and that's it. 1, 2, 3, Okada retains.
And that's the end of Shibata's in-ring career. But not the end of his in-ring bump taking, because we're going to get to that right now.
Yeah,
so obviously with Japanese wrestling, it's hard to find promos.
Yeah, especially for Shibata. Good. He's not a promo guy.
So what we're going to talk about instead is when Kenta joined the Bullet Club and did so and ended up beating up Shibata in his first bumps he's taken since that match.
Yeah, this was last year. It was, I think, it was during the G1 or just after the G1. It might have been the final night.
The end of the G1.
Yeah, it was. I think it was the final night during the same show as the final. But yeah, Kenta, he was in a tag match with Tomohiro Ishii and Yoshihashi against Bullet Club. And yeah, Kenta. Ishii reaches out to tag in Kenta, and Kenta just goes, nope. Steps back.
So smoothly.
Yeah, so smoothly. Steps back off the apron, and he's just standing on the ramp. All that happens. Ishii gets a little bit of an upper hand over Tama Tonga, and right when he does that, man, Kenta hits the Shogun knees, and then he hits a GTS to Ishii. Tama Tonga crawls right in, gets the win.
I love that. Normally when somebody walks away from the tag match, the match ends like right away. Like there's one big move and the match is over. Instead, there was a big move and then Yoshihashi made a save, and I was like, oh, it's gonna keep going. And Kenta's just watching from the ramp, and Ishii starts getting a little bit of like working. He actually suplexes Fale, which is an impressive feat by any human being.
He's half his size.
And then Kenta's like, all right, I actually have to intervene. I can't just stay here. And that's when he comes into attack. And I was like, oh, okay, here we go.
Yeah, so he joins Bullet Club, and
Shibata is not pleased.
Yeah, the ring kind of clears because after the match, Yoshihashi and Ishii still want to, they still want their hands. So Bullet Club sort of fights them out on the outside. So it's just Kenta in the ring. Shibata comes racing down. And immediately, like, he doesn't get in his face. He doesn't do anything. He just races down and gives Kenta a forearm and a boot to the face.
No time. He takes no time to hear what Kenta has to say. He does not care.
Yeah. And then he just gives him those forearms in the corner. And at the same time is fighting off members of the Bullet Club. But yeah.
Including a wonderful big boot to either Tongaloa or Tamatonga.
I think it was Tongaloa.
Yeah.
But yeah, then he hits the delayed dropkick to the corner, which is funny because that's a Kenta move that they both use. But it's just like a cool little thing between those two, you know. And
at that point, Shibata should have cut his losses, but instead he tried to stay in the ring and murder Kenta.
Yeah, he goes
chokehold.
Yeah, he goes for a penalty kick, and Jado, who is like Gato, you know, they were a tag team actually. Oddly enough, he hits him with a kendo stick when he hits the rope when Shibata hits the ropes, and that really helps Kenta really regain his bearings, and the rest of Bullet Club come in. They all just beat up on Shibata at that point, and then Kenta does the Shibata pose, the cross-legged, just sitting down right on top of Shibata, right on his chest. And yeah, it's really upsetting. Not only because, you know, it's a dastardly heel turn, and it is one of the best heel turns New Japan has ever had. It was one of the best moments of the last 5 years, in my opinion. Just being able to see that, because it, you know, as a moment, it's one of those things where you're like, oh my God, is Shibata coming back? Like, is this a tease for something greater? And it'd be such a great match because those guys have so much history together. They basically have the same move set and all that stuff. You know, they're basically like brothers. They're like brothers in arms in the rings and all this stuff. And that's what made the heel turn so emotional and so big. But also just the tease of Shibata possibly coming back. And unfortunately, that's all it is. It's just a tease because the guy can't come back. New Japan won't clear him.
Can't do it. No. One other final note on this thing. When you're watching it, watch Tamatonga. He has some extremely fresh Nikes on. Sneaker watch.
Tamatonga, great. I love Tamatonga. Great character. He's a great talker. Good wrestler. You know, he does the stun gun, which is it's like a really extra RKO.
Yep.
And yeah, it's really, really cool. And he's one of my favorite wrestlers in New Japan. He's a part of a tag team, but whenever he does some single stuff, he always delivers.
And by all accounts, a very funny and fun guy.
Yes.
Outside of wrestling too.
Yes.
Yeah, seems like a pretty good lad. But that's going to wrap up this Shibata episode. This was fun. This was really cool because this is somebody that I knew and had heard of in New Japan, but hadn't actively seen anything. And it's also not a name that consistently was at the top. It was always Okada, Tanahashi, Nakamura, Styles, Omega. Those are the names I always heard at the very top.
Even Minoru Suzuki, you know?
Yeah. Who I just heard of from when he came to America and scared all the children away. But with Shibata, it was interesting to see somebody who wasn't at the very top of the card, but still interacted and had excellent matches with those guys.
Yeah. And it's cool, you know, because he really is he was a mid-carder who should have been a lot more, but by his own choice just decided, hey, I just want to wrestle, you know? I just want to be a journeyman guy. I don't want to have all this pressure on me to run the company like Tanahashi and Nakamura. I just want to go do my own thing. So he left. He did his own thing. He came back. And he had himself a great run. Unfortunately, his career was cut short. You know, I think he's only like 40 years old at this point. But
he's a trainer in the LA dojo, right?
Yeah, he's a trainer. He's a trainer for New Japan. He helps with the backstage stuff, a lot of front office stuff as well. And yeah, he's still very involved with the company. He's not an active wrestler anymore.
But he's left behind quite an array of matches.
Yeah, and again, it sucks because obviously what happens during that Okada match, but if that's the last match that you go out on, there aren't many people who can go out on a match as good as that one.
He's my new favorite Japanese wrestler aside from Ishii, because Ishii just speaks to my soul, I think.
Yeah, he's about your height. He's a thick boy, and yeah, he just murders people.
Yeah, like what else do you need? That's going to wrap up this podcast. Javier, where can people find you on social media?
I'm on the good old Twitter machine at JMeloSports. That is at JMELO Sports. I did my AEW recap, which I haven't actually put up at night this time, finally.
Yeah, I was awake at night.
Yes.
What a shock.
Yes. So definitely go check that out. It's just I do them every week. I just recap what happens on AEW Dynamite. Last night was Fight for the Fallen. So I definitely wanted to get some stuff on that in. A good show overall. I'm definitely going to be pumping those out every week. You can see them. Whether Evan decides to post them on Wednesday night or Thursday mornings, we don't know. But those will be up.
Say? You can follow me on Twitter at @itsEvanGomes, ITSEVANGOMES. Follow the podcast on Twitter and on Instagram at Crossbody of Work. And if you have suggestions for future episodes, who we should cover, or bonus content, email the pod at crossbodyofworkpod@gmail.com. Probably our next bonus episode will be talking about Extreme Rules, because Extreme Rules will have just happened.
Yeah, the horror show.
Yes, which could be a horror show in a good way or a horror show in a very, very bad way.
It's not looking great.
It doesn't look great for right now. With what we've been doing to bring light to causes around racial injustice as well as mental health issues, this week it is actually something that is close to my heart because it is a Canadian cause. We're going to be putting a link to donate to the Black Youth Canadian Hotline for Mental Health. If you can donate. If you can share. It will be in the show notes for this week. Javier, do you have any final words for the people?
Just Black Lives Matter and keep fighting the good fight.
We'll see you next week.